We are the hidden Hebrew, hidden out the race, written in the lineage, coming to our faith, lost in their legends, found in our veins, hidden Hebrews, hidden out the race. We are the hidden Hebrew, calling out our name, buried in the back book, rising from the chain, marked by the promise, carried through the flames, hidden Hebrews, hidden out the race. Census on paper, census in chains. Borders got drawn, but the covenant stayed. From the Gold Coast gates to the auction floor, the same 12 signs at a different door. Prophets in the fields with the callous hands.
The following podcast contains material and commentary from guest presenters that some viewers may find offensive, disturbing, or controversial. Listener discretion is strongly advised. This episode includes an interview featuring Rabbi Finkelstein of New York, during which certain statements are made that some audiences may find troubling. Now, please note that the views and opinions expressed by Rabbi Finkelstein are solely his own and do not reflect the views, opinions, and positions of this channel, its host, or its affiliates. Our purpose in sharing this content is for informational and discussion purposes only. We encourage listeners to engage critically and thoughtfully with the material presented. If you are sensitive to controversial or potentially offensive subject matter, we advise that you do not proceed with this episode.
All right, Chef, can you tell us the 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this amazing sausage that you made for us today?
The 3 secret ingredients that might be found in this sausage are fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
Are those really the 3 ingredients?
Yeah, fish liver, human flesh, or shark.
You guys, is this?
Is that a problem?
Is that?
And there's a stigma surrounding this.
We're good. We will clear it. We're good. We're good. Let's go on, Brian, please.
All right. Thank you, Kif. Thank you very much. All right, Joe. Fish liver, shark,
or human flesh.
God help you, it better be shark.
All right, 2. What do you think it's gonna be?
Shark too.
Shark?
The liver is like too obvious, and I don't think it's human flesh, so I think it's shark.
Chef Keith, can you tell us what is the secret ingredient in this dish?
Yes, I'm afraid you're both wrong. It is human flesh.
No.
Whoa.
Not okay.
That's not all right.
It's a wonderful renewable protein.
Whoa. Hey, all right.
No,
are you sure?
disgusting.
No. I didn't know it was gonna go like this either.
No, that's really disgusting.
Who he said wanted to eat a child. Yes, eat her, as in cannibalism. And that was just one of the shocking details we heard at that press conference this morning.
A knock on the door.
What's up, man? Step inside.
Met by guys in green. 45 people arrested for being child predators, prostitutes, johns, human traffickers, and this.
A gentleman wanted a person brought to him that he could eat, physically cannibalize.
That was Justin Ben Singh, who also, according to this warrant, planned to kidnap a child and make her drink her own pee to get him off.
You want to talk about the depravity of humanity? Look at these people.
People like Assam Batros.
He took an erectile dysfunction pill before he got there.
Now, on to a bizarre incident where 12 suspects detained at Kapenguria police station in West Pokot County have confessed to abducting, killing, and eating children over the last years. This shocking confession has plunged West Pokot County into outrage as residents demand justice, with police urging caution to complete investigations. Catherine Omwando has more.
Ningeonelea kama kuna mtu alipoteza mtoto yake mdogo wa hii shule, akuja hapa akuja aone ajione kuna uniform imepatikana.
One after the other, residents of Kapenguria count school uniforms found at the scene. Irate residents did not have time to adhere to crime scene procedures. According to police sources, the 12 suspects are of Ugandan origin. One suspect is reportedly still at large, having fled across the border to Uganda. Last week, thousands of residents descended on the home of one of the suspects after the decomposing body of a 7-year-old boy, Brighton Kibet, was found dumped in a maize plantation nearby. Inside the ruins, villagers uncovered hundreds of children's clothes, including school uniforms, exercise books, and shoes, leading many to believe the victims were school-going children abducted traveling to or from school. Police say the suspects now detained at Kapenguria police station have confessed to the horrors. Locals say they were targeting children aged between 5 and 13, as ropes used to tie children to prevent them from escaping were discovered. Elizabeth Cheptana, a mother who lost her son in 2006, managed to identify her child's clothing among the pile.
Jeffrey Epstein and his Hollywood elite circle have been exposed as cannibals. Not rumours, not whispers. Hard evidence from the files. Babies in fridges. Jerky as code. Rituals that will make your blood run cold. An entire grotesque subculture of trafficking, consumption, and depravity on an industrial scale that has been blown wide open. And at the rotten heart of it for years, according to Epstein Files investigators, Ellen DeGeneres, the daytime TV queen who smiled into America's living rooms while allegedly orchestrating horrors in the shadows. They called it conspiracy, they called it rumour. But nightmares like this don't disappear. They get buried. And what's buried long enough starts to rot.
You know, I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about these Epstein files, and the thing that bothers me is that if this is a file, because I've been in, clerical all my life, that means someone typed this up. That means someone made a folder for this on the RAM drive. That means someone named this and they saved it, which means everyone was aware what was going on all of this time, and this is documented, which means no one done anything about it. And then y'all took forever to release the files, which means y'all didn't care that these people were just out here free, just doing whatever they want. And what this shows me is that these people must have power.
I'd like to welcome you to John 844. I'm James Wickstrom, a teacher of Yahweh, coming to you live on the Turner Radio Network for the next hour from 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, filling in for Pastor Bob, who covered for me last week. We're going to have a very, very interesting program tonight. I'm sure you're going to find it that way. I have a guest by the name of Rabbi Finkelstein. He's off the east coast of the United States, who's going to be joining me tonight, and we're going to be talking about authenticity of things in the world. Rabbi Finkelstein, as I said, a rabbi off the east coast of the United States. Are you there with me tonight?
Shalom, I am here.
Say, listen, I'm filling in here for Pastor Bob tonight. And I know we've never met, but I do have some very interesting questions for you. I think questions that I want to give you the opportunity to answer to, because there's a lot of rumors and conjecture that's taking place across this country relating to the Jewish population, okay?
Okay.
Now, you see, as being off the synagogue and a teacher of the Jewish race, because you are a race, aren't you?
Well, some say we're a race, some say we're a religion.
Yeah, well, what do you say?
We're a little of each.
Well, what are the synagogues teaching the Jews in America today as to the course of where this country is heading?
Well, it's like this. You know, America, it served its purpose for us for a while. We made a lot of shekels here. We made a lot of interest off the shekels. But we can get cheaper labor in China. We can get cheaper labor in India. Why should we pay the white race goyim here in America any money when we can make a better deal over there? It's all about shekels.
You know, I want to get into that about shekels and interest and everything, and this is very interesting that you bring it up because I noticed that there's a lot of investment by Jewish financiers into Asia, most parts of Asia. Now, I also know that Jewry is an Asiatic race. Is this correct?
Well, we're really all over the world, but yeah, I guess you could say we started in Asia.
Yes, that's right. Now, the Hebrews did not start there, and the Israelites didn't start there. You really have no bearing to be in the Hebrews or the Israelites. You are not the dispersed nations, plural, of the tribes of Jacob, who were surnamed Israel. Actually, the con game that you have brought on to this country and the world for many years, and it's been a good con. It's been a good con game. Is that you're allegedly God's chosen people?
We are God's chosen people. It's just that most Jews don't like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer.
Your God is gold.
Well, that's what we like, is lots of gold, lots of shekels, some American Express cards, you know. We like to spend, we like to have a good time. We let the goyim do the work, and we have a party.
Oh, in other words, free foreign aid, free housing, free food, and you just let the other races be your goyim cattle slaves. Is this correct?
That's what they want, so we let them be that.
And this is what's coming and planned in this country, too, isn't it, the United States?
Well, this country here, we're going to brown this country up. We're bringing all the Mexicans and all the Hispanics across the border. They're interbreeding, especially with a lot of the white women, the shiksas as we call them, and they're interbreeding with them. Pretty soon there won't be a white race, it will be all brown.
And talking about race, you are a race, Rabbi Finkelstein, but you are a race of Asiatic blood. Is this correct?
Well, there's Jews everywhere in the world. We interbreed with all the good-looking women in every country we go into. All the good-looking women, all they care about is we buy them a few diamonds. Not that they're worth anything. We mark that industry up real big. If the truth be known, we have so many diamonds that if we ever turn loose the diamonds we have, you can buy them for the same price as a dozen roses. But the women, they like the diamonds. They like the furs. So we give them the diamonds and the furs. And we make an appointment with them, and we have sex with them, and sometimes we marry them. It doesn't matter, because when we want a divorce, we just go to one of our fellow Jew judges and get the divorce. We have a Jew lawyer. She's going to hire a Jew lawyer. Yeah, she's not going to make any shekels, but she can try.
Let me ask you this. This is very interesting. This war in Iraq that took place after the alleged towers of 2001, September 11, 2001, this alleged war, it got very interesting. There were really no Jews in them towers. Can you explain that?
Well, spiritually, there were a lot of Jews in the towers. A lot of Jews died in those towers, spiritually.
Oh, I see. Well, the 3,000 Jews were not at work that day in those towers. That just gave a lot of people have the impression that the Jewish population out there in New York was aware that something was going to happen, and they didn't show up for work that day.
Yeah, we got a call from the Kahilla that Ariel and some of the boys in the Mossad, they got together and they wired up the buildings and they took them down. It was going to be a hard thing to take them down anyway, because we wanted to build some new structures, and the buildings were getting old, and it was time to bring them down. This way, we make some shekels by destroying the building. Old Silverman, who's a good friend of mine there, Larry, he got a twofer. He got a 2-for-1 there, and he doubled the insurance magically just 3 months before it happened, and then he got a 2-for hit on it, so he made like 4 times his money. I should have been in on the deal. He asked me, but I said, I don't know. Let me think about it. It took a little too long for me to think about it, and he pulled the plug. He pulled it, as they say, and so the buildings come down. But at least I got in on the market, and I was short American Airlines. I was short United Airlines. I was short Lloyd's of London Insurance Company because they took a big hit. Allianz Insurance Company, I was short them. So I made a few shekels.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, there's a lot of speculation here. And this U and K on all food labels, for example, that are sold in supermarkets, etc., is this a Jewish tax that is paid to rabbis like you all over the United States? Is that another con job at the expense of the goyim, the masses who purchase the product?
Well, I didn't get in on that one, but yeah, it's a lot of other rabbi groups. They tax the food, and you could call it a tax. You're entitled to make money where you can make money. If nobody stops you, you make the money. But the goyim, they're the cattle. The white race out there, they're the goyim, they're the cattle. And so if we want to make money off of feeding our cattle, who's to say that that's wrong?
Total industrial plants, automotive plants are being shut down. 1,500 to 3,000 in a plant are losing their livelihood. It's just a matter of time, isn't there?
Well, of course. But all they really ever had anyway, once you give up working for yourself and you work for somebody else, you're a slave to that person. What you're doing is actually, he's not paying you money, but all the labor that you're doing, you're giving him a piece of the action. And when you give him a piece of the action, you're making him the rich guy, not you. So all we let them do is make a subsistence living. They could never afford to buy a house on their own. We got to give them a payment plan. Of course, we do them a favor, and so we collect a little interest for that, about 3 houses for every one that we sell them. But you have to be in business for yourself. If you're not in business for yourself, then you never have a chance to make any money. You're going to be a working stiff, a slave, a serf. You're a schlepper.
You know, Rabbi Finkelstein, you're very brazen tonight, and I'm really surprised at how truthful that you've been in answering a lot of my point-blank questions. Why is it hard for why do the Jews feel, or is this just a paranoid, schizophrenic feeling that everyone in this country is looking at them, want to do things to them and stuff like that?
Well, they better not look at us too hard or accuse us, because that's anti-Semitism. And if we catch you with anti-Semitism, we can throw a book at you. Remember, we control the court system, all the Jew judges, the Jew lawyers, the Jew prosecutors, and we wrote most of the law. Not us necessarily, but we pay our goyim in Washington, D.C., the Democrats and the Republicans. They sit around and we have them write up laws. We tell them what to do. They put it on the paper. We don't actually even do the work.
Well, you know, as we're on the Turner Radio Network here, this is one of the only live radio networks that actually two individuals that come from two opposite parts of this planet, you, Rabbi Finkelstein, and yours truly, James Wickstrom. You know, we are on two totally opposite sides of this planet, and both of us have two totally different wants and needs and desires against one another, and yet here we are, sitting here tonight live on the Turner Radio Network, discoursing about people, discoursing about things, being honest and truthful, and in telling the truth to the masses. But you know, the masses have a hard time believing anything.
Well, we've done a great brainwashing job on them over the centuries, and especially the last few hundred years. We've just brainwashed them completely. They believe anything we tell them. And, in the meantime, we have a lot of fun around Passover where we steal the children. And, I know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and we drain the blood and we mix it with a Passover bread, and then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets, and the people, they eat it for breakfast, they eat their children for lunch, and as Jews, we gotta do what we do. The most important thing to remember between you, Pastor Wickstrom, and me, Rabbi Finkelstein of New York, that we both have two fathers, and so that's why we look at the world in two different ways.
And we know that there's a massive collision that's going to take place between two forces, don't we?
Well, that's what your book says. Our book says that we're going to take over the world.
Well, I look at you...
You're doing a pretty good job right now.
Yes, you've done a pretty good job, but there's quite an awakening coming. And my father, who's not your father, my father Yahweh, who isn't your father, of course, your father is talked about by my father in John 8:44, stating that your father was Satan and that you're the descendant of Cain, who was the first murderer. And you know that's true because you teach it in your synagogue.
Well, that's true, but it's not for you Goyim to know. But right now it's too late. It's over for you white race. So that's why I'm speaking so honestly here, to bring it out into the open so that you can see it for what it is. You've been teaching the people real good, but they don't wake up, do they? You don't get a lot of followers, do they? Because you know why? They're scared of us Jews, because they don't want to be called anti-Semites, and they believe that we're the chosen people, and so that's why we can do whatever we want to do, and we can get away with it because the white men are cowards, and we go to the synagogue all the time and have some Manischewitz and dance the Hava Nagila.
It's interesting. I've told people for years and years, it's not that you Jews are hiding anything. You're coming right out on television, in the newspapers, on the radio, and you're telling the people exactly what you're going to do before you do it, and they're brain dead.
Well, we did a good job with the public school system. We got you to put all of your children in there. You notice that the Jew doesn't put his children in there. They go to the Hebrew Academy where we teach them the real things, and then they go to the synagogue and they learn the real important things. But we send your kids to the public school. We even have you tax yourself from your property so that you never own your property. And so if you don't make your property tax, we're going to take your property. You can bet on that. And we have you put your kid in a 12-year babysitting is about all it does, because you don't learn anything. And then by that time, the kids, they get to be teenagers, and then we give them the music. Not that we really want to call it music, because, oy vey, that's not music. But they listen to that, and then they want to do what they want to do, and so we sell them drugs, and we make a lot of money off your children. Your children from cradle to grave. All we do is make money off of them. Your cattle, your goyim, the human cattle. Mazel tov.
It's interesting. Yes, I know what you call us, but you may call me Goyim, but I can call you devil, but I'm going to be calling you a good name because that's what you are.
Well, that's true.
Now, you see, Rabbi Finkelstein, in your synagogue out there in New York, do you have a lot of infighting with the other Jews, the Orthodox Jews and the other Jews? I mean, is there a lot of infighting for the money out there in New York? I've heard that there's a big inner war going on now with Jewry.
Well, we fight a little bit and we argue a little bit. Of course, that's the two most important things we do is complain and get the guilt. And so what we do, we're not really fighting among ourselves because we're both going to make a lot of money. It's just who's going to make a little more on this deal and who's going to make a little more on that deal. The bottom line, though, is we have the Goyim. The Goyim does all the work. The Goyim makes all the stuff. He sells it to us for pennies. We're the wholesalers. We're the middlemen. We mark it way up and sell it to the other Goyim on the retail side. There's an old saying in Yiddish that the reason that God made Gentiles is because somebody has to pay retail. It's not going to be the Jew for sure. The Jew doesn't pay retail. It's the Goyim that pays retail. We buy wholesale.
Well, that's very interesting. I understand it, but I also know the bloodletting. I know that on your Passover, which isn't mine, that a lot of little children do disappear, and I do know that, and I know a lot of police departments and agencies have been informed, but you're very open. You're very open tonight. I'm very surprised that you're talking about the bloodletting of the little children, that you put their blood in the matzah balls, and that you eat it on sacrifice on Passover.
Well, there was a Goyim that wrote a book about it back in the 30s. I forget his name at the moment. But anyway, he wrote the book. People didn't buy the book. People don't want to listen. We've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, since down to Adam's time. We take the children of our enemy, which is the white race, and we bring them to the basements in the synagogues, where we drain the blood and watch them die there. It's very similar to how we do the sacrifices that we do with the kosher butchering, and so we do that, and then we mix it with the Passover bread, and so we eat the blood of our enemies. And the bodies, we're not cannibals, so what we do is we take those, because we can make some shekels, and we give them to the slaughterhouses, and those are pounds and pounds and pounds of meat that we grind up in the sausage and the hamburger, and that's why we made those the most popular thing, sausage for breakfast and hamburger for lunch. And so all the Goyim out here are really eating their children. And even when we say this outright and tell you people, you don't believe it. So that's your problem.
You know, I've got a question, and I yes, it is a problem. But you see, I've always wondered, how did you Jews ever get control of the, i.e., Christian churches in this country? It's always baffled me to a varying degree, Rabbi Finkelstein. You know, you have your synagogue out there in New York on the East Coast, but I'm wondering, how did you ever totally get control of these Christian churches who at one time told their congregations to stay away from you Jews? How did that happen?
Well, you know, our father Lucifer, the number one thing of all the organizations out there on the earth that we would want to infiltrate and take over of you Goyim, obviously would be the churches. So we attacked them first, and we attacked them most. And we infiltrated the Catholic Church right from the very beginning. Why do you think the Pope and all the cardinals and the bishops wear a yarmulke? The white race never figures this out. And so then we took all your books that had all your scriptures in there, and we burned them. And then we wrote them in Latin so that you couldn't understand them. But we understood Latin because we're Jews and we're smart and we're educated. But you Goyim out there, you never teach yourself. You don't self-teach. You're always looking for somebody else to do it for you. So you wind up being schleppers all your life. And so anyway, 1,000 years later, when a bunch of the white race started to wake up in Europe, and they started to leave the Catholic Church, it was a terrible time because we weren't making as many shekels as we used to. So we had to put a stop to it. So the kings that we had in our hip pocket, just like the politicians in Washington, D.C. today, we paid them off to get you declared heretics so that they would crucify you and kill you. But there was too many of you, and the West was opening up, where the Jews opened up New York and Rio, and everybody started going west to the Americas. And so we had to come up with a Plan B. And Plan B, we formed the Jesuits. It was a nice boy, Ignatius Loyola, that he started the Jesuits. And so they decided to infiltrate all the Protestant churches out there. And as always, us Jews work our way to the top. And then we take over the money line, the shekel line, the most important line, the lifeline, the gold. And so we took that over. And so slowly but surely we teach the teachings change them a little bit to where it's all run by the Catholic Church again, the Mother Church. It's your mother, but the Father Church is the synagogues in Israel and in the synagogues in New York.
You know, this is most interesting. There was a report just recently, a couple months ago here, Rabbi Finkelstein, of Ethiopic Jews in Israel. These are black Jews, and the Jews in Israel didn't want them there. And the Ethiopian, the black Jew, said, "Oh no, we're Jews, we belong here too." Oh, how does this all fit in? Well, how are these blacks Jews and the Jews over in Israel didn't want them? Was they kind of like a disgrace or what?
Well, who wants a bunch of Schwarzes in your land? You don't want the Schwarzes in there. There are some rabbis that went down to Ethiopia and they said, "Oh, we'd like to be Jews too." We laughed, but we said, "Okay, pay us a few dollars and we'll teach you how to be a Jew." So there was a few rabbis that made some money there in Ethiopia, but every Jew knows that a Schwarzer can never be a Jew, and we don't want them dirtying up the neighborhood over in Israel. We give them neighborhoods here in America. We give them white women to mate with, to destroy both races, and Gazai, Gazel, Gavel, Gahaya. What can I say?
Well, that's, in other words, it's like Elizabeth Taylor now. She was a white woman, and yet she said she took on the ways of Jewry. How does this fit in?
Well, she married a nice little Jewish boy named Eddie Fisher, and they had a daughter named Carrie Fisher, and so she donates a lot of money to the synagogue. She's a good goyim shiksa, and she thinks she's Jewish. She can think what she wants. Hopefully that she'll give a lot of money to our synagogue when she dies, which should be soon because she doesn't look like she's in too good a health.
Rabbi Finkelstein, we're coming down on time here, but I wanted to get into this because, you know, you and I are at war. The war actually is between the white race, the children of Seth, against the children of Cain, of which you are. And we know that it's been written in the Aramaic and in all the ancient texts, you know this as well as I, that only one race is going to survive on the face of this earth, and you know it's the white race.
Well, that's what your book says. Our book, the Talmud, says we're going to rule, and we're going to have a world of our own, and we're going to go out into space, and we're going to have a war with your father, and we're going to win this time.
Well, that's going to be most interesting, but until then, the masses continue to awaken in many aspects in this country and in white Europe. You know, all of Rothschild's banks control the white nations and have perverted the nations. But it amazes me how you penetrated into the federal agencies like the FBI and the National Security Agency, and how you have all these blockers and protectors in that.
It's very easy to take over a government when you're a bank, because the government has to borrow money from the bank, and once they borrow money, as it says even in your books, as it says in ours, who borrows is slave to the lender. And so this government here in America is slave to the Federal Reserve System, which is Rothschild's bank, plus a few of us other Jews who make a few shekels off of it. And the politicians that we put in charge, they all take bribes. They're all a bunch of poilates. They like to drink, and they like to take the drugs, and they like to do the Fagala thing with the Fagalas. So that's what they do, and it's very easy to control the government. The hardest thing was penetrating the churches, because there used to be a few good preachers in there, but over time, as us Jews, we're so smart. We're the chosen people. We always infiltrate and take over everything, and everything that there is out there today, we own and we control.
What if history did not unfold the way in which we were taught? What if names were erased, records altered, and entire lineages buried on purpose before modern textbooks, before revised narratives? The old books told a different story. They show old maps with the original name of the slave coast. They simply wrote what they saw before they had a reason to hide the truth. When history is stolen, identity is lost. And a people without history can be controlled. Black History Case Files Buried Heritage reopens the case file. It's an investigative report using primary documents, forgotten maps, and suppressed records. This isn't opinions, it's evidence, it's fact. This Black History Month, don't just celebrate Black history, investigate it. Your Black History case file is ready, and all you have to do is open it. Black History Case Files Buried Heritage is available today on Amazon and other major bookstores. It's time for you to investigate your history and learn the truth.